1. The Alcatraz Escape of 1962. It's the night of June 11, 1962. Alcatraz, a fortress of concrete and steel, sits isolated on an island surrounded by the frigid waters of San Francisco Bay. For nearly 3 decades, it was known as the Rock, the ultimate high-security prison designed to hold the most dangerous criminals in the United States. The odds of escaping were said to be 0. But that night, Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers, John and Clarence, attempted the impossible. Let's set the scene. Alcatraz housed approximately 260 prisoners in single cells, watched over by 90 armed guards. The island's rocky shores and 53-degree waters of the bay formed a natural barrier that deterred even the bravest swimmers. In the 29 years it operated, officials claimed no one had ever successfully escaped. But Morris and the Anglin brothers, determined to prove otherwise, spent months meticulously planning their breakout. The trio's escape plan involved extraordinary ingenuity. Using discarded saw blades, stolen spoons, and a drill made from a vacuum cleaner motor, they slowly chipped away at the concrete walls behind their cells over several months. Their work had to be precise. The holes had to be just large enough to fit their bodies through without attracting attention. But precision alone wasn't enough. They needed to mask their progress from guards. To do this, they crafted cardboard and soap-sculpted heads, complete with real hair collected from barbershop, to place in their beds as decoys. When guards did their nightly head counts, these faux heads would pass as sleeping prisoners, giving the escapees precious time to work. Once they had created the openings in their cells, they climbed through the narrow holes into the prison's utility corridor. From there, they maneuvered up to the roof, navigating the maze-like ventilation shafts. But here's where the ingenuity shines. Knowing they'd need a way off the island, the escapees crafted a makeshift raft and life vests from over 50 raincoats stitched together and sealed with heat. They even designed paddles from wood scraps to steer the raft. At around 10 p.m., under the cover of night, they climbed down the side of the building and launched their raft into the bay. By the time guards discovered the breakout, it was too late. The trio had vanished. In the days that followed, a massive manhunt ensued. Authorities scoured the bay, deploying boats, helicopters, and searchlights. Pieces of the raft were later found washed up on Angel Island, but there was no sign of the escapees themselves. This escape shook the prison system to its core. Despite their efforts, authorities could not confirm whether Morris and the Anglin brothers drowned or made it to freedom. In the months that followed, officials received reports of mysterious sightings, people claiming to have seen the brothers in South America. In 1979, the FBI officially closed the case, concluding the men likely drowned. However, in 2013, the case was reopened when a letter, allegedly from one of the Anglin brothers, surfaced. The letter claimed the escapees survived and lived quietly for decades. Over 60 years later, the Alcatraz escape remains one of America's greatest mysteries. Did they make it to freedom, or did the bay's cold waters claim them as victims? While we may never know the truth, this story serves as a testament to the lengths some people will go to defy imprisonment. In the end, the Rock was closed down in 1963, a year after the escape, proving that even the most secure facilities are not immune to determination and ingenuity. But Alcatraz is just one example. Now let's travel back to the height of World War II, where Allied prisoners in a German POW camp used extraordinary teamwork and engineering skills to plan an escape so daring it would be remembered as one of history's greatest prison breaks, the Great Escape from Stalag Luft 3. 2. The Great Escape from Stalag Luft 3. It's 1944, and the world is gripped by the turmoil of World War II. In the midst of this chaos, in a German POW camp called Stalag Luft 3, Allied prisoners are hatching an audacious plan. Located in what is now Poland, the camp was designed to be escape-proof, with elevated barracks to prevent tunneling and a highly vigilant guard force. But the prisoners had other ideas. They weren't just planning a simple breakout, they were aiming for the largest mass escape in history. This was no small endeavor. The camp held over 10,000 Allied airmen, and the masterminds behind the escape, primarily Royal Air Force officers, wanted to get as many men out as possible. The plan involved digging 3 separate tunnels codenamed Tom, Dick, and Harry to maximize their chances of success. These tunnels, measuring over 300 feet each, had to be dug in secret, hidden from guards' eyes. The prisoners used whatever they could find, spoons, forks, and even pieces of metal from bed frames, to dig. But it wasn't just about digging. The escapees formed specialized teams. Some worked on forging documents, while others stitched civilian clothes from blankets and painted them to match German attire. They created ventilation systems from old milk tins and even built a makeshift railway to transport sand out of the tunnels without being noticed. This wasn't just an escape. It was a military operation involving over 600 men working tirelessly, each with a specific role. On the night of March 24, 1944, the escape was set into motion. 76 men crawled through the narrow, claustrophobic tunnels. Imagine the tension. They had to move quickly and quietly to avoid detection. The tunnel's exit was just a few feet shy of the woods, forcing the men to sneak across an open area to reach cover. Unfortunately, as the 77th man began to crawl through, the tunnel was discovered, and the guards quickly alerted the camp. Only 3 of the escapees managed to make it all the way to safety, 2 reaching Sweden and 1 making it to Spain. The others were recaptured, and in a tragic turn of events, 50 of these brave men were executed by the Gestapo, despite the Geneva Conventions. The Nazis wanted to send a message. Escape attempts would be met with the harshest punishment. The Great Escape was both a success and a tragedy. It disrupted German forces and boosted the morale of Allied troops, but it also served as a reminder of the risks these men took in the pursuit of freedom. The escape's legacy lives on today, not just in films and books, but as a symbol of the indomitable spirit of those who refused to be held captive. We've seen the power of determination in war, but the pursuit of freedom isn't limited to soldiers alone. Next, Northern Ireland in 1983, where 38 prisoners executed a bold plan to break free from one of Britain's most secure prisons, the Maze Prison Break. 3. The Maze Prison Break of 1983, Northern Ireland in 1983. It's September 25th, and tensions are high at the Maze Prison, one of Britain's most secure facilities. The prison, often referred to as Long Kesh, was designed to contain some of the most dangerous prisoners of the Troubles, including members of the Provisional Irish Republican Army, IRA. With its high walls, extensive surveillance, and heavy guard presence, the maze was considered escape-proof. But on this day, 38 IRA prisoners would prove otherwise. The Maze prison had a reputation for its harsh conditions and strict controls. The H Block 7 compound, where the escape would take place, was heavily guarded, with a series of electronic gates and surveillance systems. Despite these security measures, the IRA prisoners managed to smuggle weapons and tools inside, all part of a meticulously organized escape plan that had been months in the making. At 2:30 p.m., the operation began. Using smuggled guns and knives, the prisoners overpowered the guards in H Block 7, taking them hostage and seizing their uniforms. In total, they captured 19 guards. The prisoners then used the guards' keys and credentials to open gates and secure an exit route. What's remarkable is the precision and coordination involved. Each prisoner had a specific role, and the entire operation was executed like a military maneuver. As they made their way through the compound, the prisoners encountered one final obstacle: the prison's main control room. In a swift move, they overpowered the officers inside and unlocked the gates, opening the way to freedom. In total, 38 men managed to break free, making this the largest prison escape in British history. But freedom didn't come without chaos. During the breakout, alarms were triggered and guards tried to regain control. One officer was stabbed and seriously injured, while others were beaten. Despite the violence and the rapid response by authorities, the prisoners escaped in hijacked vehicles and fled into the surrounding countryside. The impact of this escape was immediate and significant. British authorities launched a massive manhunt involving over 4,000 police officers and soldiers, and roadblocks were set up across Northern Ireland. In the weeks that followed, many of the escapees were recaptured, but several managed to evade capture for years, with some never found. This escape was not just a blow to British security, it was also a major propaganda victory for the IRA, demonstrating their capability to outmaneuver one of Britain's most fortified institutions. The Maze prison break was a stark reminder that even the most secure facilities are vulnerable when faced with determined individuals with a cause. It's a story of rebellion and strategy, one that highlights the complex political and social dynamics of Northern Ireland during the Troubles. As we leave the green fields of Northern Ireland behind, our next story takes us to Mexico in 2015, where one of the world's most notorious drug lords orchestrated an escape so sophisticated it shocked the world. Get ready for an underground operation like no other. Before El Chapo's tunnel escape in 2015, it's July 11, 2015, and El Chapo is confined in El Altiplano, Mexico's most secure maximum security prison, designed to be escape-proof. Authorities believed they had him locked down, but this was not his first time escaping a high-security facility. The man known as the Lord of Tunnels was about to live up to his name once again. The Altiplano prison, located outside of Mexico City, is equipped with 24-hour surveillance, motion detectors, and reinforced concrete walls. But for someone like El Chapo, with the resources of the Sinaloa cartel at his disposal, these obstacles were only challenges to overcome. While authorities monitored his cell through multiple cameras, they overlooked one crucial vulnerability: the floor beneath his feet. For months, El Chapo's associates outside the prison were busy constructing an elaborate tunnel leading from a small house over a mile away, directly to the shower area in his cell. This wasn't just any tunnel, it was an engineering marvel. Measuring 5.6 feet high and 2.5 feet wide, it was fully ventilated and equipped with electric lighting. They even installed a motorcycle mounted on tracks, specially designed to transport equipment and, eventually, El Chapo himself. At approximately 8:52 p.m., as he entered the shower area, one of the few places where the cameras had no view, El Chapo made his move. Authorities monitoring his cell saw nothing suspicious until minutes later when they realized he had disappeared from view. By then, he was already speeding through the tunnel, escaping undetected. The tunnel's precise endpoint, right under his cell, and the motorized transport system allowed him to cover the mile-long distance in mere minutes. When prison officials finally raised the alarm, it was too late. A nationwide manhunt ensued, with thousands of soldiers and police officers deployed. They set up roadblocks, monitored airports, and searched the countryside, but El Chapo had vanished. The escape embarrassed the Mexican government, exposing the cartel's far-reaching influence and the level of corruption within its own systems. It's estimated that this elaborate escape cost around $8 million, a testament to the Sinaloa cartel's vast resources and connections. El Chapo's escape in 2015 wasn't just an escape, it was a statement. It showcased how criminal organizations could outmaneuver even the most secure facilities when they have the means and motivation. It took 6 months before he was recaptured in January 2016, following a series of clashes and intelligence operations. But by then, the damage to Mexico's prison system's reputation was done. El Chapo's tunnel escape stands as a modern example of how, even in an age of advanced technology and surveillance, human ingenuity and sheer willpower can still find a way to break free. From the cold waters of Alcatraz to the underground passageways of Mexico, these escapes reveal the incredible lengths people will go for freedom. But El Chapo wasn't the only one to challenge a maximum security facility. Last case, we'll look at a group that pulled off one of the most coordinated and violent breakouts in U.S. history: the Texas 7 escape of 2000. 5. The Texas 7 escape of 2000. From the tunnels of Mexico, we turn to the United States. It's December 13, 2000, and at the John B. Connolly Unit, a maximum security prison in Texas, a group of 7 inmates, later known as the Texas 7, are planning a breakout that would become one of the most notorious and violent escapes in modern U.S. history. The John B. Connolly Unit, located in Karnes County, housed some of the most dangerous criminals in the state. It was designed to be a high-security facility, with double perimeter fencing, armed patrols, and surveillance. But for this group of 7 inmates, the obstacles were challenges they were determined to overcome. The group, led by George Rivas, had meticulously planned their escape for months, taking advantage of the holiday season when security protocols were more relaxed. On that December day, the Texas Seven put their plan into action. Their first move was to subdue and overpower several prison employees in the maintenance area. In a coordinated effort, they tied up 9 civilian workers and several guards, stealing their clothes, credit cards, and identification. The group, now disguised, moved swiftly through the prison's corridors, gaining access to the administrative offices. There, they raided the prison's armory, arming themselves with 14 handguns and a 12-gauge shotgun. The group's military-like precision allowed them to stay undetected as they maneuvered through various security checkpoints. Using a stolen prison maintenance truck, they drove through the gates, passing as civilian contractors. By the time guards realized what was happening, the Texas Seven had vanished, leaving behind a trail of confusion and chaos. Once outside, the group didn't hide. They went on a crime spree across Texas, robbing stores and stealing vehicles, staying one step ahead of authorities. The scale of the manhunt was enormous. The FBI, Texas Rangers, and local police joined forces, setting up checkpoints across the state and broadcasting the fugitives' identities nationwide. Authorities offered a $500,000 reward for information leading to their capture, but the group remained elusive. On Christmas Eve, the Texas Seven committed their most infamous crime, robbing a sporting goods store in Irving, Texas. During the robbery, they shot and killed police officer Aubrey Hawkins, a crime that escalated their notoriety and intensified the nationwide search. The group eventually made their way to Colorado, where they stayed at an RV park under assumed identities. Their freedom, however, was short-lived. Thanks to a tip from America's Most Wanted, authorities tracked down the fugitives in January 2001. The standoff resulted in the capture of 6 members. The 7th member, Larry Harper, committed suicide rather than face arrest. The remaining 6 were sentenced to death for the murder of Officer Hawkins, closing the chapter on one of the most infamous escapes in American history. The Texas Seven escape showcased the power of careful planning and sheer audacity. It also raised questions about security vulnerabilities within the U.S. prison system, even in high-security facilities. Their escape, like others we've covered, illustrates the lengths individuals will go to reclaim their freedom, even if it means risking everything. And as we conclude this journey through history's most daring escapes, we're left with one lingering question. Are these stories evidence of flaws in prison systems? Or do they reveal something deeper about the human desire for freedom? One thing is certain, each of these escapes highlights the extraordinary determination and ingenuity of those who dare to defy the odds. These escapes aren't just stories of crime or conflict. They're testaments to the lengths people will go when they feel trapped. They remind us that the drive for freedom is a force stronger than any wall, guard, or locked door. Thank you for spending your precious moment with us. If you enjoyed learning about these incredible stories, please check our playlist here and feel free to consider subscribing our channel. And if you have thoughts on which escape was the most daring, or if you know of another story worth exploring, we'd love to hear from you.